Welcome to another edition of Your Impact Attack. That's right, it's Your Impact Attack. And everybody loves making wrestling history, so we're looking to make history by making this the fastest impact attack that you've ever seen. You won't even know. It'll be like when a pet escapes. You're like, wow, my cat really just ran out the door. Uh, I didn't know it was that fast. But that's just what the VBC does. And who's the VBC? I'm the V of the VBC, the vet. Tagging my partner Brandon, the B. Through the magic of the internet, the hot tag comes in. He's a house of fire cleaning, house hip toss, body slam, drop kick. What's up, Brandon?
Not much, man. It is a fun Monday. We're hanging, we're chilling. We got Raw. We did the Raw watch along, and now we're doing the Impact Attack. We're here, we're hanging, we're chilling, we're banging, whoop whoop.
That's right. We're banging with the C in the VBC right now. It's a little we just opened the doors. We just opened the doors. People are filing in. They're taking their seats. We'll get more. We'll get more as the show goes, or maybe we won't, because we'll have it wrapped in 30 minutes. So get your seats quick. It is first come, first serve, but it's not so much that the seats are filling up fast, it's that the time is running out. So who do we have with us so far?
It looks like we got Liz with us. We got Lab Rat. We got Revamped Wrestling HD. Whoop whoop. Thank you guys for joining us. Happy Monday. Hope you're all doing well. Giggity giggity.
That's right. That's a monster trio if ever I've seen one. Now, this is 4th of July week, but it's not going to be a weekend per se. It's only, it's only the July 1st right now. And then the 4th will actually be on a Thursday. So,
well, to be fair, though, the 4th of July leads to a 4-day weekend. All right, hold on, I got to do it right.
Yeah, 4-day weekend. Can we do that? It is America. We can do it. Let's everybody just take the last 2 days of the week off to celebrate with hamburgers and illegal ordnance. I'm not even going to call them fireworks anymore. It's just bombs. People just light bombs on the streets.
Dude, we have
that bad where you are, Brandon? Do people just dynamite? You talk about Wednesday night dynamite, boy. Let me tell you.
Dude, we got like so many posts of ordinances, like just like, the sign sticking up out of the ground, like, hey, you can't fire these off, but like nobody really enforces it. This is more just like, hey, we're just putting these up to cover our asses because we really don't give a shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. So look forward to that. Look forward to your pets being scared. Look forward to car alarms going off. They've already started where I am. Speaking of already started, it's like right now it's currently on the West Coast installation here. It is 6:35 p.m. in the evening, and it's 103 degrees. So, and I hear outside, I hear the faint sounds of what appear to be weed whackers. Some idiot is doing yard work not only at 6:30 in the evening, but in triple digits. What is wrong with this country?
As we're Get me the Stacy brothers, pal.
Oh man. So, but I hope everyone else's day is cooler and better. What else is in the news? We had a legion of wrestling matches last night at AEW Forbidden Door. Lots of matches, a record-setting 15 matches, I think, if you count the 0-hour show.
Did he hire Ian Rotten to book that show?
They might have, but at least when I was watching the main card, actually even the 0-hour card, it was pretty well, like the matches weren't all like 20-minute affairs. You know, some of them were shorter than others, so they were able to get through the matches in the same amount of time it usually takes them. So, um, interesting show. Not a not like a ton of surprises, but good matches featuring good talent. It's one of AEW's better shows that they've done in a while. But as far as news goes, that's, most of the news is just coming out of that. Like, who won what match and did anybody, you know, appear? Whatever.
Man, AEW, they need some positive momentum. They need something to kind of boost them and get their trajectory up because they're kind of in the slump right now.
Yeah.
I mean, they just had their lowest viewed Dynamite that was like, okay, you have absolutely no excuses for this. This show sucked.
Mm. Yep. Yeah, they appear to have bounced back from that at least somewhat with another couple 100,000 people the next week, and then they got the Forbidden Door show, which I don't know how many people will buy it. I don't know how many people were interested. The crowd seemed into it. It was a good time. So, there you go. But as far as as far as wrestling news, that's just wrestling results. We don't really have any news per se. Nothing new since the last time I've seen everyone, which was yesterday. Um, haven't watched any Monday Night Raw. Don't know if they've got anything going on, but I don't know, Brandon. Have you seen anything this past week that you thought was noteworthy?
I mean, not really noteworthy from a like real life news thing, but from a kayfabe on screen storyline perspective, I thought they did a pretty decent job at advancing the Bloodline storyline with what they did with Paul Heyman this past Friday night on SmackDown.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Jacob Fatu is in there. Everyone acknowledges the tribal chief except for Paul Heyman, and that means that he's got to go. You got to acknowledge tribal chief. I love Paul Heyman. He's one of the only reasons to kind of watch wrestling anymore. I know he's not as popular over on the brand side, especially on the Raw SmackDown review. Although I know that there's two Paul Heyman guys sitting there pretending that they don't like him, while it's really just one guy that doesn't and won't let it go. But um, still, like, I just really, he's, he's kind of just the most entertaining thing about WWE at times. I just love, like, when when his face when Solo says acknowledge me, and he's just like, what? No, this, like, he can't, exasperation, disbelief, fear. It's man. And then of course he's gonna be gone for however long now because they did the angle where they beat him up. So
Right,
there you
and he
go.
has to sell it. I mean, like if he
Right,
shows up next week, that completely kills what they did.
right. So it's, yes, they advanced this somewhat. I like the idea of advancing it. I don't particularly like the details of the way they went about it. I'm sure there were things that they could have done. But as far as if you just look at the overall picture of, like, okay, now Solo is taking his role as the tribal chief, not as an interim, but he is the tribal chief. He said things in the past like, sorry to be the one to tell you this, Paul, but Roman's not coming back. It only makes that only throws more fuel on the fire of the fans chanting "We want Roman" every week. They're gonna want him even more now that he said that, and there you go.
Vince McMahon spent almost a decade trying to get Roman Reigns over as a babyface. He's gone now, and the team that replaced him did a better job than he did in less than a year.
Although it did take longer than a year, but it was a gradual process. We kind of got here the years of supposedly being a heel too, which you know, I think that well, I said yesterday on the wreckage with Jimmy, I asked him, I gave him a pop quiz. And I'll throw the same one to you. Um, so pop quiz, hot shot. What's the best way to be a babyface in 2024? How do you get over as a babyface in 2024?
That's honestly a good question. I don't really know how to answer it because it could really be just. It really depends on what situation, what storyline, and what your character is and where you're at, and just in a weird way, it kind of is circumstantial and story, driven.
Ha! So you think? I'll tell you the answer. The answer's simple. Be a heel. That's how you get over as a babyface in 2024. Nobody cares about wrestling like it's real people, real situations, real events, real sports. They only care if it's entertaining or not. And all these baby faces saying shucks howdy, I just want to do my best, they ain't getting over no more. So,
Very true.
suffer and succotash,
Yeah.
that ain't gonna cut it. Jack and the Beanstalk, what year is this? Nah, man. It's all
Look
about
at Drew and Punk.
Yeah, it's all about acknowledge me, you know? It's all about posing over people's careers graves. It's all about MJF coming out and just saying outlandish shit. Like, how do you be a baby face? Be a heel. That's very simple.
Like, man, you can go back to when, people always say Austin was really a heel, but at the same time, though, at least the fans could sympathize and empathize with Stone Cold because they could see themselves in his position as the blue collar worker fighting against their boss. And while he may not have done, the most ethical things against his boss, he was still the underdog fighting against a corporation. And he was still the clear cut, good guy in that scenario.
Yeah, but that was later. They started liking Austin when he was cussing on TV.
Yeah, and breaking into Brian Pillman's house.
Yeah, and insulting everyone's favorite wrestlers and telling them they wasn't shit and beating them up and giving them the finger. The most heelish shit Austin was trying to do, he was trying to get over as a heel. I'm sure even he at that time, just trying to get heat the best he could, was not trying to be a babyface. I'm pretty sure it just turned out that way.
To be fair, in his defense, the babyfaces he was against, they absolutely sucked and the crowds hated them. Oh,
Bret Hart? Hart absolutely...
Well, beside that, again, that was later on where Bret kind of realized, okay, I know what I'm supposed to do. I know my job. I'm going to get this guy over. That was Bret knowing what he's supposed to do, knowing his job, knowing his role. That I'm talking more like, the rest of the roster beneath that.
Well, there were lots of there's a big gap in.
I mean, like Duke the Jumpster Drozy was supposed to be a babyface, but like, come on, seriously, who's going to cheer for that guy?
Well, nobody wants their trash to just sit around uncollected, getting, just sitting in the sun, stinking up the neighborhood and all that. Like, of course he's a babyface. But there's a gap in wrestling fans' memory because they've been regurgitated the WWE version of history so many times that they start to believe it. The WWE basically has brainwashed everybody into thinking that it was Austin 316 at King of the Ring, and then all of a sudden, world champion super over babyface. It took like a year and a half to get to that point, almost 2 years between the time when Austin cut that promo, which, yes, it spawned one of the highest selling, if not the highest selling t-shirt of all time, but he was getting booed out of buildings for like the next year because he was being a heel. And the first time that he took on Bret Hart, he was saying all this outlandish stuff about Bret Hart, and Bret Hart wasn't even around to defend himself. So there was this long period of time that Austin was gradually climbing that road to becoming a fan favorite. And again, people immediately think that it was like the double turn at WrestleMania 13, but even then, uh, it wasn't like it was 100% unanimous like of a double turn. People still like Brett because everything he had done to that point, he was justified because Steve Austin had made his life a living hell and cost him so much. So Steve Austin was being a heel for a good long time after the King of the Ring promo, and everybody just forgets that because there was a lot of unmemorable stuff during that time. But essentially, he was still a heel, and he became the biggest babyface by being the heel. The NWO, same thing. They went over to WCW. They were cooler than everybody in WCW. Everybody in WCW was still doing some cartoonish gimmicks, like it was like it was in the '90s, like a Duke the Dumpster Drozy. Even Sting was like, he was still just that same guy that he was in the '80s, except he let his hair grow out a little bit and he stopped bleaching it. But other than that, he was the same guy. There just wasn't a lot of cool stuff going on in WCW. And the only thing that was cool in WCW at that time was like Ric Flair and the Four Horsemen, who were heels. So it's like at some point, people just accepted, I guess there's nobody I can believe in that's just a good guy. So I'm going to like these, complete degenerate people that are upsetting all of the apple carts here. It's funny to me. It's entertaining. It's better to be entertaining than to just be honest. So I like the entertaining guys, and that's where it all kind of started. And ECW, had a lot of anti-hero type characters and stuff like that would have been heels in other times, but they were baby faces then.
So I just have one question. Are we talking professional wrestling or the American political system?
I choose. Just be entertaining. That's what it is. I mean, did Donald Trump get elected because he was nice to everybody? Or did he cut promos on people? Yeah. Yep. So there you go. So that's your answer to the question. Pop quiz. How do you get over in 2024 as a babyface? Be a heel.
Be a complete douchebag.
Mm-hmm. Well, you got to be good at it. You still can't just go out there and, you can't just be boring and then go in the match and poke somebody in the eye. You still got to be good. But
I promise you that's a better ticket than anything that's being offered right now.
Yeah. Yeah, I could definitely out promo any of these octogenarians in a debate, and I don't need to know anything about policies and stuff. Who needs to know about policies? Trump didn't know about policies. He promoted his way into the job.
I feel confident enough that this might sound braggadocious, but if you put me on this, if I was on a debate against Trump, I think I can handle him just with like, okay, let me pull out your receipts from your first term, and just boom, 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 boom.
Yep, we're gonna get guaranteed. We're gonna guarantee you lower Five Guys Burgers prices, Gab. That's right. That's the first thing we're gonna do. Nah, if we were elected, we would just do the same thing every president and vice president does. Just sit around and let other people do all the work and then make all the speeches. That's all that anybody does.
Yep, like take pictures and give speeches.
That's right. But we're young, so we can do it.
Yeah, we're not going to stand up and wander off somewhere and be like, hey, you need to go back this way.
Yep. I mean, I might wander off, but it's not because I don't know where I am. It's because I'll get bored.
Like, yeah, fuck this shit. I'm going this way.
I got to I have to watch 6 hours of Forbidden Door, so I got to go. See you guys. Yeah. So.
Free blizzards for everybody, pal.
That's right. At participating locations. And none of the locations participate.
I'm gonna open up my own McDonald's and not participate in anything. I'm a stubborn McDonald's owner. You got burgers? Nope. We got spaghetti and blankets. Mitch, all together, go get the album. The fantastic comedy album.
Yeah. Mitch Hedberg is missed. Um, you know who else is missed? Is going to be Sika. We talked about Sika passing away, and that's kind of how we open this episode of TNA Impact. They have a card, the in memory card for Sika. So influential. Roman Reigns' dad, you know. So it's funny that they thought, when they're chanting "We Want Roman" as if he was really going to be there this time, uh, but yeah. So even if he was thinking about coming back, it may still be a little bit of a while longer. But TNA acknowledged Sika, so that's a perfect start to the show. And then of course we couldn't start a TNA show without and then you could get these at all of the participating locations. A ketchup package for anybody that has not. There you go. Looks like Heinz to me.
Yes. Although 1 week I might bust out a hunch just for our boy at Medium 5.
Well, you can bust it out, just don't open it. Just leave it.
Oh, I'm not going to open it. I mean, I'll display it, but I'm not going to open it.
Yeah, never use it. No, my goodness, no. Goodness gracious, no. All right, so we're gonna open up with a rare Gia in-ring appearance, and she's gonna call out Jordan Grace. And Jordan Grace is gonna say, "All right, essentially, Ash by Elegance, you piss me off. So how do I reward your shitty behavior? I'm going to give you a title shot. I already signed the contract. You're getting the title shot tonight. Come on out here. Let's do this." And the concierge comes out and says, "No, you're not getting. We're not doing it tonight. We're going to do it at Slammiversary, and we need security to remove this woman from the ring." So security goes to the ring, and then of course, Jordan Grace beats up all of the security by herself, and then Santino comes out and tries to restore some order, and then as they're restoring order, here comes Masha Slamovich, but not because she's trying to participate in this brouhaha, but because she has a match, so she's just walking down there. Alicia Edwards is with Masha. They pass they pass all the commotion and barely acknowledge it. Then Zaya Brookside enters, and then we get our first match of the night, Masha versus Zaya. So it was interesting the way they did that. I don't mind when wrestling does that, because it does show that, yes, we had a scheduled program here, and you guys have gone over your time with this unruly brawl, and you need to get the hell out of here. The only problem is they're not consistent. Sometimes they'll let people do whatever they want, and act like they don't have a scheduled show, or they're still making matches, in the middle of the show for later. And then meanwhile, here's a case where apparently you had a main event match made because Ash is going to get her title shot tonight, but now that match is canceled. So at no point did they address?
They did. They did.
Okay, so which match was the filler match? Because I missed it.
I'm not sure what match was the filler match, but the concierge did address the discrepancy about when the title match was going to take place, because he told Jordan, if you would have read the contract, you would have seen that it's not going to take place tonight. It's going to take place at Slammiversary. So Jordan, in her own mind, thought she was getting she was defending the title that night, whereas everybody else was like, "No, this contract actually says it's happening at Slammiversary."
Oh, well, then that seems like talks that should have happened backstage, that she should have known she wasn't getting it, and it made her look stupid.
And then that leads to, okay, then how did that lead to this segment happening?
Yep, that's true. Well, either way, no matter how you look at it, it's a mistake, and you made your babyface look dumb, and it doesn't matter if you, but, into my point about how do you get over as a babyface, be a heel, beat up the innocent security guards. That'll get you over. Hey, here's a bunch of security guys just doing their job. Oh, they got beat up. Oh my goodness. What a baby
like
face.
If you look at the facts and the truth, they did nothing wrong, and she just beat them up for doing their job. Exactly.
Yeah. Did any one of them put their hands on her like in a way that was inappropriate, even as security guards? Most security guards just get in the ring and say, now, don't beat me up," and then they get beat up. So, but at least Masha Slamovich had a match, which is always nice. And despite the fact that she should have easily beat Zaya Brookside anyways, she still had a ton of help from Alicia Edwards on the outside before she hit the snowplow. So even when Masha gets a win these days, she has to have help from her sort of just a manager tag team partner.
Man, this is how I would have booked this match. I would have had it be where Alicia would attempt to help, then Alicia's like, "No, I got this," and then shows how dominant she is, and then picks up the win clean.
Right. Oh yeah, we don't need to protect Zaya Brookside.
Yeah, no,
Yeah, we don't need to do that. All right. Any other thoughts on this opening segment overall?
no. Other than this went a little longer than it needed to.
All right. Well, I mean, Jordan's just out there yapping about title shots later tonight, and she didn't even know. Dumbass.
Get me supplements, pal.
First class. They meet back up with DJ Who Kid. He finally got out of the trash can, and he's back. And it turns out that AJ Francis has purchased some old Canadian wrestling belt. So he's Conrad Thompson now, and he's
that's got to be like, as soon as I saw it, I'm like, that's got to be a rib on Conrad. It has to be.
Yeah. So apparently it's the International Heavyweight Championship, and apparently it's some belt from a Canadian territory, and it's some belt that PCO had always wanted to win, even from back when he was a pirate, or even back when he was a Royal Mounted Policeman.
Wasn't that his partner? That was the policeman? That was the Mountie?
No, there was two of them, right?
Really?
Yeah, the
Or was that a different? That might have been a different guy that he did the other mounted police gimmick with, but it was definitely those two as the Quebecers and then the Amazing French Canadians.
Yeah. I thought they didn't wear the red and black in the WWF. Chad?
I think they did, but I think it was Jacques who was the Mountie on his own.
Yeah, he was the Mountie, but then he added a partner after his singles run.
Okay, I did not remember that. I don't know.
Unless I'm crazy. Well, I look to the people. So, but they also just
now I'm looking. Now I'm going to Wikipedia.
They also what's it called? They all had gin and juice. The Dr. Dre, beverage in a can. Dr. Dre and Snoop beverage in a can. They had gin and juice to celebrate their new title purchase.
Okay, I just found it. He was part of the Fabulous Rougeaus tag team from 1986 to 1990. Then he became the Mountie, and then he formed the Quebecers with PCO.
And what year was that?
93.
Yeah. All right. So even when he was doing that, he wanted to be the international heavyweight champion. That's my point. Whatever he was doing, he wanted to do that. And yeah. And then we go to another Spitfire meeting, another team meeting for Spitfire with good old coach Lars, whatever his name is. What's his name? Lars something.
Lars Frederiksen, and we all know how many bumps Lars has taken.
Right. Yeah, that's he got so many concussions for those bumps that led to all the face tattoos and everything. So he's, yes, the lead singer of several bands, including Rancid, is coaching Spitfire, and he's getting in their face and telling them what they need to do. And apparently what they need to do is they need to face each other as the final test of their partnership.
Here's the only issue I have with like I like the idea of Lars being there and being kind of like their friend and their and in their corner. But what does he know? He does not know any more about wrestling than they do. Like if I want to know about playing bass, writing music, yeah, I'm going to go to Lars. But when it comes to wrestling, he's one of the last people I'm going to.
Well, maybe this is a rib on certain people that think that because they watch wrestling their whole lives that they can talk about it and know what they're talking about. Perhaps he is a rib on, you know, everyone.
Different Lars, Sonic, different Lars.
Yes, a much more famous and successful Lars that wouldn't be caught dead coaching a TNA tag team, a women's tag team.
Could you imagine Lars Ulrich on Impact?
You guys, you gotta fucking face each other in the fucking ring. It's only way you're gonna be fucking partners. Look what we did. Didn't you see that movie? Some kind of monster? Fuck.
You got to channel sane anger.
Yeah.
So you mean you got to suck really bad?
Fuck yeah. All right. Well, we move on to our State of the Union address that was promised. Ali, all his entourage, campaign, yada yada yada. Of course, he takes a long time to get to the point, but that is by design at least. I'm not complaining about that. I'm just not gonna recap all the, you know, political filibustering that he's doing. Um, but essentially, he comes to the conclusion that that whole video that we all saw, it was fake news. It was AI generated. It wasn't real. So don't worry. And then there's some fans in the front row that he's not happy with, and he tries to have them ejected. And then he gets a drink thrown on him, and then he drags with the fans over the rail and beats them up in the ring, because that always happens if it's real. And then Speedball Mike Bailey comes out. They didn't hit his music to his credit, and he's actually wearing a shirt which I'd never seen before. And then they do a pull apart there. Um, and then, of course, in the true, in true heel fashion, Ali, as the champion, challenges Mike Bailey in his hometown at Slammiversary. So, X Division Championship match, Ali versus Mike Bailey. Uh, make some sense of this.
Get me stunt granny, pal. Uh Maybe if the fan would have jumped the rail and attacked Ali from behind and then he fought back, okay. But then I could see security. Then you have let that happen for a few minutes, and then security runs down to kind of split it up. And then he starts beating up security. That's when you send Mike Bailey down. You have them fight. Mike Bailey sends Ali running. Santino comes out, makes the match.
I see. So we repeat the first segment again. Or do we just delete the first segment and rewrite that altogether? Well, we're gonna have to rewrite
this whole
yeah.
This whole thing's a ball of wax.
Right. Now, in their defense, at least, they're not writing these shows every week. They write a bunch of them at once, but that should make it even easier to keep track of these things.
Right. You have an entire month to format and be like, okay, here's what's going to air on this show. Here's what's going to air in this order on this show. Here's going to air in order on this show. We air them, and then while they air, we get the next set of tapings lined up, formatted, and in order.
Yeah, I don't know. It seems like they're making it hard on themselves, but maybe they just count that nobody's going to pay any attention or care. I will say that what they really should do, if they wanted to do this, first of all, where did they get the video? That's a question that fans will have. where did they get the video in the first place that he's saying is fake news and AI generated?
It apparently aired during Against All Odds.
I know that, but what I'm saying, where does that? If we're talking about who's the TV, you know, like the GTV or whatever camera.
Exactly. Like that should be who's like, you know, like that should where the storyline goes to is okay, Ali, like he might drop the title Mike Bailey. Okay, but it still should lead to him against whoever's leaking these videos.
Yeah, unless TNA itself is just leaving running cameras in places just to catch Ali in the act of something, and as a company, that's just how they work. But if it's not that, then we need to know at some point, what is the point of doing this? Are we going to reveal that somebody has been doing this? So if
Like,
that's the case,
remember,
go ahead.
like man, you remember back in the day when they when TNA did Paparazzi Productions and they did the whole storyline of James Mitchell hiring them to follow Christian Cage's wife around and film her during her everything she did during her day.
I mean, vaguely, but I remember Paparazzi Productions. I don't quite exactly remember that angle, but I'll take your word for it. It was Dijak all along, Liz says. Even though this has been a problem since before his release.
Ah, son of a bitch.
So my point is, if someone's recording this, then wouldn't it not have been better? And so instead of having instead of doing the same old bullshit that you would always do, because you're a tired ass pro wrestling company that just can't get away from pro wrestling unless you do something that's completely ass, like the PCO dinner date in the ring or whatever. The only time you deviate, anytime you have an original idea, it's the worst idea. So instead of doing that, how about Ali is like, you know, gets the drink thrown on him and he just smiles and waves and all this other stuff. And then we see another video next week of a guy getting pulled into the back by the Secret Service guys and Ali beating him up, or allegedly beating him up. You know, the way they used to treat fans back in the day after they attacked a wrestler.
You see the Secret Service pull the guy into a room. You hear the sounds of fighting. The guy gets thrown out. You didn't see what happened. You don't know who's back there, but you can assume.
Right. And then that furthers the story of like, well, somebody's catching Ali again. And who is it? You know, so like this was just all right. So you beat up a fan. In real life, obviously you'd be sued into oblivion. So there's really nowhere for this storyline to go the way you had it, unless you just ignore the fact that, you know, this is fake wrestling and it's not going to happen like it would in real life. But then why are you doing it? The whole idea of beating up a fan would be to try to get you heat as a heel. But we already established that heels aren't going to get any heat these days. So why bother?
If they end up turning this into a segment where they actually went to court and they showed segments of Ali and the fan in court and Ali gets off on a technicality, that would be great. But they're not going to do that.
Yeah, they're not doing anything. I'll tell you what they are doing. So after this whole thing where Mike Bailey runs out, he's like dressed like a person, gets in a pull apart. He's trying to fight. They're fighting. Then Sonic says Sean Ross Sapp recording Ali. Yeah, see, there you go. And then we get to have him on the show cutting promos, just like we want.
Hey, if it leads to him getting the shit beat out of him, I'm cool with him being on TV.
So you had all this, and then all of a sudden, the next thing we see when we come back from break is Mike Bailey wearing different clothes, looks groomed, doesn't look out of breath, doesn't look like he's been in a fight, and he's already responding to the championship challenge like, yep, I'll take that challenge. I'll go to Slammiversary and be the exhibition champion. So, you know, what were we just talking about? The continuity of having your show laid out ahead of time so that you could avoid things like this, but you didn't. And he has no reason to have his clothes changed that quick because it's not like he has a match later or anything.
Yep. And here's a quick fix to produce that segment to keep the continuity. You have a camera sitting in Gorilla. It catches him as soon as he comes through, and you make sure you let Mike Bailey know, hey, you're gonna come through as soon as you come through the curtain. We have a camera crew and an interviewer gonna ask you, hey, what just happened out there? And you need to stay in character. We're gonna shoot it. and they're going to air it when the show airs, whenever the show airs.
Right. You can always do things like that as long as you know you're going to do it, you could film those things in sequence and you could edit it in the show however you want, but at least okay, I got Mike Bailey looking like this in these clothes, and we can put this promo on afterwards so it makes sense.
Right. You can shoot and produce it whenever. You just need to be able to know when to fit it into the proper spot in whichever show.
Or in Labrat, as far as like the recording things goes, he says NXT Anonymous crossover. There's an NXT Anonymous account that films stuff and puts it on Twitter, so for angles and whatnot. So that would be the perfect thing to get Ali exposed and continue that working relationship. So it's not too late to do that, but I somehow don't think that they will.
You could turn Chase U heel by having them being like his collegiate college, activists.
Well, we're not going to be turning Chase U heel anytime soon, pal. No, for you can abandon that idea. Speaking of abandoning an idea, the next match is a triple threat tag team match. It's ABC versus the Rascals versus the Deaners.
That damn Nikolai Volkov, pal.
I'm going to apologize in advance for my unprofessionalism. But when this match was on TV, or when it was on my TV, I literally walked out of the room. I was fixing something in the kitchen and I did not bother to pause it. That's what I thought of this match. What did I miss?
I liked the start. I liked the first few minutes because it actually opened with a dive spot that made sense and it was actually logical. But then once it got through, the basic stuff and it went off the rails, get your shit in, everybody just do a bunch of shit.
Who dove on who?
I want to say it was Bay diving on the Rascals, and they did it was like a promo segment where like the Rascals were like, talking down both Diener something and ABC, and then like the way the Diener and something were positioned, where it's like they kind of blocked ABC from Rascals' view, and the Rascals were on the outside of the ring. So the ABC was saying something about like, let's get this thing started, and all of a sudden, Bay does a bounce off the ropes, and then the something and Diener duck while he dives over them and lands on Rascals, and the match starts.
I see. Well, hey, gotta dive. So yeah, I did catch the finish. I believe it was the 1-2 sweet on Cody Diener, who was the only logical person to take a fall in this match, right?
It's the people's choice, pal.
It's not about what I want. It's about what the people want. And they want me to get beat. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. Yeah, here's a guy trying to be a babyface. Do you think it's working? Kissing the people's ass? Is that getting him over?
I'll give them credit. At least they're trying to come up with creative ways to come up with choices where, like, okay, we know the crowd's going to go this way, so we can go this way.
All right, but that's a tiny, tiny bit of credit. That's like
tiny.
That's
I mean, that's not hard. It's not a hard thing to do.
It's like $1 in store credit.
Yeah, it's like taking, Final Fantasy 2 for NES, Final Fantasy 3 for NES, Secret of Mana at GameStop, and being like, I will give you $10 for it, store credit.
Right. Because that's what they would give you for any 3 games, not the worth of those 3 games. So yeah, all right. Then the System does a promo, so I'm like, okay, well at least Moose is here, but there are lights in the room and there's music underneath, so it was completely undercut. Like whatever they were doing was undercut. So I did not enjoy it, sadly. But
we need more Moose, pal.
We need more Moose. We also need
hopefully when we go to Canada, we'll see a lot more Moose.
I mean, we might see some actual Moose, more than a real Moose, because Moose is going to be buried in a 6-man elimination championship match or whatever it is. So that's going to be fun. There'll be plenty of Moose laying around while other guys do their spots. It'll be great. I can't wait. Can't wait for that main event. Hey, speaking of who's not around,
Easy payday for Moose.
Yeah, speaking of who's not around, who's the hottest guy in TNA right now? Oh, I guess nobody said his name or anything. Nobody said his name 8 million times or whatever in the past few weeks. Again, I know the show was already recorded.
But how hard is it to be like, hey, okay, you're catching fire. Can you record or make something that we can put into this show?
Yeah. I mean, he should be on the show every week, regardless of whether he went viral or not. It doesn't even matter if he went to to NXT at all. He should still be on the show at some point. He's there. You need to put him on the show.
He's the hottest guy on the roster. Why is he not? Yeah, why is he not featured in some way or another?
Right. Well, because I think if the Comment King Todd Brantley were here, he would say because TNA. I think that's what he would say, and he'd be right. So it's better though. Like, we don't need Moose, we don't need Joe Hendry, we don't need anybody over. We need a video package for Burt Macklin and Sami Callihan, because these guys, oh yes, these guys vying to be the top guy. This is their chance to qualify for that match I was talking about, where you're gonna have 6 people for the TNA World Championship. And what I took from these matches, or this match in particular here, is Burt Macklin kicks out of people's finishers. Sammy don't.
Yeah, that's exactly how I kind of felt coming out of this. Is like, okay, apparently Macklin can't be beat, but he can beat anybody.
Yep, there he is. So, thumbs up, thumbs down.
2 thumbs down, Siskel and Ebert.
I wish I had more hands so I could give Sami Callihan 4 thumbs down.
Well, if you're a girl, you could.
Oh. Or if I was AI generated, I could probably have more thumbs to point down.
Yeah, to be fair though, if you try to put in, okay, me with 4 arms, it'd be like 3 or 5.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like, there could be lots of thumbs though, so that's...
Yeah, and you have 6 fingers and they're all thumbs.
Mm-hmm. So there you go. But then again, it'd be hard to get them all to point down. Like, if you try to turn your hand down, some of the thumbs are going to be pointing up, and it's going to be confusing. I don't know. I guess what I'm trying to say is I'm not a fan of Sammy, and nothing has changed since the last time we spoke. So
I was hearing that during that match, at the end of that match, if I'd held up 5 hands, 5 fingers, that place would have gone insane.
Oh, God. All right. Speaking of insane, Angels versus Kushida. They have a match. This happened. We don't get Joe Hendry, but we have Alan Angels in a match. So Kushida wins with a hoverboard lock because, of course, he would. There's no chance that you're putting Alan Angels over Kushida. But then Jonathan Gresham attacks because we got to further the angle. And he attempts an ink transfer. He's trying to replace the ink cartridge in Kushida's mouth. And here's security come out. Security come out to stop him. They're not going to allow this. It's unsanitary. So security's all over it.
I think it's because he's missing the cyan and magenta in that ink cartridge as well.
Oh, he went for the all black.
Dark Gresham.
Dark octopus. He wore a dark suit. You like suited octopus?
Dude, good. I'll say, this is speaking as somebody who at one point, was around Gresham very early on, about 12 years ago. Like, I'm very happy seeing him like starting to embrace character development instead of just worrying about what he does in the ring. Now, as far as the character and the story he's trying to get over, oh yeah, we can pick that apart. I'm just very happy to see him doing something different.
Something dark.
Dark, very dark.
All right, well, here's something dark. We have a Hardy's package. We got the Hardy family there, cutting a promo again. Um, any notes on this?
I mean, it felt kind of boring and generic. Like, I don't know. I want to see more Broken Hardy stuff, and I want to see it evolve and get more creative. I don't think this was it.
I don't think you're gonna see it get evolved and more creative. I think you're basically gonna see the washed out retread of what you already saw, because it already seems like that. Yeah, I've heard the Edward Edwards joke. I get it.
I'm a sad panda.
Don't sue people, Panda. Like that's the guy in the audience that got beat up. Uh, all right, and then here's your actual main event. Since we didn't get a knockouts title match, thanks a lot, Jordan Grace. Learn to read. Um, we get our package to hype it up too. It's Dolph versus the Rich Homie Swan to qualify for that 6-person cluster. It took 15 minutes to get to the obvious conclusion. It's not like anybody thought. Although, with AJ out, available, and like there's always the chance of some interference and an upset or whatever, but they didn't do that. So I assume that they just went with the marquee person for the match, even though if people read the marquee and see Nick Nemeth, no one will know what that name is outside of the people that are already, TNA fans or whatever. But it just took a
Yeah,
long time to get there.
yep.
So,
And to address what Sonic said about Hardy's leaving WWE for AEW, only end up in TNA. Again, this is my opinion, my speculation. I think those guys have enough money. They have enough, their equity they're sitting on, where it's like, we really don't care what we're getting paid. We just want to exercise our creative muscles. That's all we really care about at this point.
mm-hmm. And even as Labrat point out, because I saw this interview too, where they think they're going to finish their career at WWE, and guess what? They probably will.
Right. If to me, again, this is my opinion, that really depends on Jeff getting himself cleaned up and proving that, okay, I have changed. I am clean. I'm reliable. You can trust me. I think a lot of that hinges on that.
Yep. And it also just goes to show you that if you're a, you know, if you're a white guy that is pretty laid back, then you get a million chances, and everybody else better mind their p's and q's. Don't look at anybody wrong, you know. But that's it. That's the episode. Going to our school anniversary.
To be fair, there was a part of me that thought there was going to be kind of some kind of sore finish that ended with, or some kind of interference or fuck finish that ended with Swan going over. Kind of hoping that would, because that would kind of help him more than Nemeth. But I kind of get why they want to have Nemeth in the match to kind of put a little more star power in it.
Oh yeah, no, I don't disagree with the decision. I just think he could have probably beat Rich Swann in faster than 15 minutes. I mean, maybe we could have, he was cutting into Joe Hendry time by going 15 minutes with Rich Swann when everybody knew he wasn't gonna lose. So
Yep.
Not that it's his fault, but just saying that's TNA's. That again, that's on TNA. That's on whoever's in charge of this fucking bullshit. Tommy Dreamer probably.
Dreamer.
So
Get
there you
me
go.
the tobacco cup, pal.
That's the Tobacco Cup. That's a new championship that's coming to TNA.
That actually would
It's
not be a new championship to TNA. It would. Remember the Dub Cup?
kind of
It
barely.
was legitimately like their TNA's first hardcore championship, and it was a spittoon, like
Oh, nice.
like the Dub family spittoon.
I remember the Dubs, Bo Dup and Jack Dup, and it's nice to know that 20 years later, the creativity level has remained about the same, more or less, in terms of that. Well, we did set a record for shortest impact attack ever. I think we've actually probably done in the 40s before. But you know, still.
Now, I'm sure like we'll actually cross a full hour runtime once we're all done.
Oh, well, what is left?
Oh, we final thoughts, plugs, all that good shit. Whoop whoop.
All right, my final thoughts are: this sucked. Not one Moose sighting, barely any Joe Hendry. If they mentioned Joe Hendry, it was all just like recaps and like little thing. No fresh Joe Hendry content on the
They
show.
they did do like a quick little thing of like, hey, Joe Hendry appearing on NXT was WWE's most viewed X clip from the entire year. Hey,
and and which basically calls attention to the fact that you didn't care enough to feature him. So he could have been on there saying that, or maybe he couldn't have, or maybe he could have. But whatever. Point is, you screwed up. So
yeah, like that was a huge opportunity to ride that wave, and they missed it.
they missed it, and yeah, I just yeah, I don't know. It's funny. Remember, we should have known. We should have known. They announced the TNA rebranding months before they intended to do it. That was a red flag. Then they did it, and all they did was turn the ropes yellow. That was a red flag or a yellow flag. And then
Remember,
finally, we're still just back to doing the same old Impact Wrestling stuff.
remember the 2 to 3 months of clip shows we got from Bound for Glory up to the official rebrand?
How could I forget? Sometimes, some weeks, I still feel like I'm reviewing a clip show. And you had maybe a clip of Joe Hendry talking about how viral he went, but we have no room for him on the show, guys. Sorry. Sorry, the guy that's more over in WWE isn't on our show. Sorry.
How do you
Oops.
drop that ball?
I don't know. But
You
they'll
have
figure it
so
out.
much. You have plenty of time between when he appears on NXT to this show to be like, okay, we got to make some adjustments, edit it, put him more into it.
There's not a ball that TNA can't drop, fumble, lose, or hit with a cookie sheet. Like
Or drop into thumbtacks.
dropping the thumbtacks. Yep. There's not anything that they can't completely go the wrong. They can't score an own goal with. They can do it with any ball. So
They'll intercept the ball, run it into their own end zone, and then spike it.
that's right, on thumbtacks with a cookie sheet. And they'll play music underneath, and they'll put little lights in the end zone.
And they'll dance with the opposing team.
There it is. Well, that's it. That's all we got. We got no more punching up this week. Do it maybe next week.
Yeah, next week will be a 2-parter with the this show leading into next week's show.
You know what we should do? we should just record all of our shows for July, like right now. Like we'll sign off and then we'll just hit live again and just do the next. We'll just do all of our shows, all of our reviews. We'll guess whatever happened, and we probably just won't be far off. And then, how funny would that be if we started doing the Impact Attack where we just get the report of the
We
tapings?
taped it like Impact.
Yeah, like we'll get the report of what happened at the tapings from like the fans that post it, that when they go there and they do the results, the spoiler results. We'll just review all the spoiler results, and then we'll do all those shows at the beginning of the month, and then we'll just take the rest of the month off and just have our Mondays free. What do you think about that? Does that sound like the only way they deserve to get acknowledged, you know? Tribal chief style?
It'd be more efficient and cost measure productive, but less fun. So I enjoy every Monday night hanging and chilling with you and everybody else. Whoop whoop.
Yeah, you're right. It wouldn't be the same. But they don't think that way, so just remember, TNA's shutting fun down. But yeah, so I guess we'll just wrap it. We can
wrap that shit up, B.
That's right. When we'll be here every Monday. We won't just do one Monday a month with the 4-hour show. And I guess we could tell the people where they can find us. Brandon, what about you? Where can they find you?
You can catch me on Twitter, or as the kids call it these days, the X, at LG Brandon Whoop. I'm also on twitch.tv/LG Brandon Whoop Whoop. And I'm also on Substack/HMG Brandon. And my schedule for the live streams this week, I'll be doing AEW on Wednesday, SmackDown on Friday. It'll be a late start, kind of a late start. We might catch the last half of it. We're going to be doing Slammiversary on Saturday. So see you then. And then we'll try to catch and then we'll be back on Monday with the Raw Watch Along Impact Attack. Giggity, giggity.
All right. As for me, you can find me at Opinion Haver on all your favorite social media platforms. You can find me every Wednesday at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern for the Next Level Wrestling Review with Big Ray Hernandez, where we talk about NXT and their crossovers with TNA, and we'll probably see more Joe Hendry on that show than we will on this show. You could find me every Sunday morning, 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern for Wreckage with Jimmy T. We talk about Collision. Last week's Collision, or this week, however you want to look at it, this past Saturday's Collision was the best Collision ever. I gave it an S for Stephanie. And then you can, if you want to check out, have you ever wanted to ask a wrestling legend a question? Well, you can on Fridays at 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, concrete time on their YouTube channel, Wrestling with Rip Rogers Q&A. Definitely ask him a question and get a crazy answer. And then if you want to check out everything Stevie Richards doing, Stevie Richards show coming up. We got reviews, products, fitness products. Stevie Richards Fitness still doing stuff. All kinds of retooling going on. He's posting pictures of his studio. It's always constantly evolving, changing, soundproofed, new desk, this, that, the other thing, everything. Follow
New desk.
New desk. And then of course, shouting out JTG with his new YouTube channel. Little short videos, little fun stories. His biggest regret in WWE, 5 things that'll get you heat, meeting with Vince McMahon and others. So follow that, Jay the God, JTG. Follow his YouTube channel, and let's get him as one of the top wrestling YouTube channels up there with Maven and everything else. Oh, by the way, speaking of Stevie Richards and Maven, they'll both be on Cafe de Rene coming up pretty soon, I saw. So there's another thing you could check out. Check out Cafe de Rene. So that's it. That'll do it. We're out of here. For Brandon, I'm the vet, and I don't have a sign-off line.